In this video, we're going to work on the hamstrings, strengthening them, stretching them. We're going to do some work with the muscles that help turn your knees so they follow the flow of the feet. When walking, we do a herringbone stance so that your feet are not turned in, they're not turned way out, they're just out about 10 degrees. And when you bend your knees, you want the knees to travel right over the second toe. So we want to make sure the knee doesn't wander inward or outward, and we'll do some exercises to help with that. And then we'll stretch the same area that we worked. So a hamstring strengthener is quite simply standing with your knees bent a little bit and taking one knee underneath the hip and bring the heel towards your glute. If you do this quickly, you're going to get a cramp in your hamstring. So go very slowly. Standing knee is bent, just up and down. And when you get it up, the heel to the glute, give a little squeeze and then slowly release. See if you can keep your head over your spine, the belly engaged. The standing knee has a little bend in it. See if you can take the weight a little bit out of the heel of the standing leg so you'll feel like you're leaning a little bit forward. And with this, just like any other exercise, you do as many as you can until you feel like you can't do any more. And then switch sides. So the same thing, lifting the heel toward the glute, the standing knee is bent, head over spine, belly is engaged. And just at the top, give a little squeeze. And if you do this too quickly, you jump into it, you will get a hamstring cramp. So again, you do these until you feel like you can't do any more. We all seem to have weak hamstrings because we don't use them very much. They might be tight, but that doesn't mean the same thing as strong. To stretch the hamstrings, take your feet 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet wide, 3 feet wide, a comfortable distance. I'm about 8 inches from the wall. Sit the hips on the wall. Lift the hips up higher. Bring your hands to your shins and begin to let the spine pour forward out of the pelvis. I'm not rounding at the waist, I'm folding at the hip crease, which is where the socket of the thigh bone meets the pelvis. And just let the head drop, do a little shake, yes and a no, and turning the head, close the eyes. And then if you want more, you just keep lifting the sit bones up higher. You can stay here as long as you like. It's a lovely release. See if you can balance the weight evenly on the inside and the outside of the foot. And the feet are parallel. They're not turned in and they're not turned out. When you're finished to come up, bend your knees and just come up halfway to change the flow of blood to the head so you don't get dizzy. And then up you go. The next exercise is called corkscrew, and it's one that helps you bring the knee over the second toe when it's bent. So taking this posture, you'll stand up straight. The standing knee has a little bend, and the leg that you're standing on is closest to the wall that's supporting you. Lift the other knee up, turn it out to the side, bring the heel under the ankle. So this is already work for the hip flexors, lifting the leg up. Keep your hips square if you can, not turning out, not turning them in. Take the leg out, and then slowly cross the knee over the standing leg, point the toes, and touch down. Lift up, bring the knee out. Try not to move the hips in or out. Take it across, point the toes, touch down. Repeat a few times, flex the foot. Keep the hips steady, point and touch. So again, you do this until you feel like you can't do any more. My hips, I'm doing my best not to move them. I have the abdominals engaged. Head over the spine. Standing knee has a little bend. And then when you're done, do the other side. The stretch to release this is a hip flexor stretch. So touching a wall lightly with one hand. The same leg that's of the hand that's touching the wall comes forward. The other comes back. If you can, stand on the ball of your back foot. If you can't, you can put the heel down. So if you can, stand on the ball of the foot. You have a generous distance between your front foot and your back foot. The front knee is bent so that the knee is over the ankle. And then take the other arm up and reach behind you, leaning back, but be sure to draw the pubis to the navel so that your low back has some support and remains long. Now you're targeting this area. You're stretching the hip flexors. So reach up and back. And again, so you're dropping the tailbone down, lifting the low belly up, and then lower down, and repeat on the other side. The last working pose I'll show you, and then we'll do one other stretch at the wall. The next working pose is called knee toe. So you lay down, and you keep yourself up on your forearm. Make sure you're not sagging into the shoulder, so press the floor away. The other hand comes in front to support you. Draw the belly in and see if you can bring yourself in one long line. Bend the top leg so that you have the foot behind the front knee. So it's behind my front foot, front leg. And you lift up and you simply touch the knee in front. Knee tap to toe. And knee tap. My foot comes up, my knee goes down, the foot goes down, the knee comes up. And see if you can take the knee back as opposed to leaving it forward. So take it back, lift up, knee tap, press the floor away with your standing shoulder, and back. So you'll actually get some shoulder strengthening out of this as well. And up. And then of course you do the other side, just swivel around, support yourself on your elbow. Bottom leg is long, I'm lifted up, my hand is in front, onto the toes, behind the front knee, lift the foot up, touch the knee down. And as with all the other exercises, you do as many as you can. And back and down. In addition, with this one, you're getting a side stretch, which you may have already noticed, but we are targeting the muscles that specifically will help center your knee over your second toe. And then there's one more stretch we'll do for this series. And again, it is a hip flexor stretch, so it's stretching the muscles that cross over the hip. And it's a twist. So assume the same position that you just did with the last stretch, except instead of reaching up and back, you'll take your front fingertips to the wall in front of you and the other arm behind you, lift up and take a twist, turning my right shoulder to the wall and my left shoulder away. Take a few breaths. So I'm twisting and stretching. And then switching sides. Same hand supporting you as the front leg, trying to get into a lunge as opposed to back heel down. If you can, it'll stretch your toes and it'll work your ankle a little bit, and that hand comes in front and this one goes behind. And I would say I'm about 10 inches away from the wall for that one. All right, that's it for keeping your knees over your second toe.